maybe you could just explain a little bit from your point of view, from Fox's point of view, what transparency means.
I came from the client side, brand side most of my career. I want to work with people that I trust. They're going to make sure that my message is in a place that is actually what it says it is, and is in a safe environment. So at Fox, we absolutely believe that's the right path for brands, and we want to be a trusted place to do that. To the point where we've built products that ensure, that you have a viewable ad format, 100% guaranteed. We enlist partners like Moat to make sure that we're providing back to our clients the insurance that your ad is being seen by a real person, and that's a huge part of what we do. And I think the fact that so many people in the industry have lost sight of that, and we're seeing that course correction happen right now, is a good thing. And like I said, I come from years and years of working as a brand, so I still look at it through that point of view, quite interestingly. And I know when someone's talking to me about where to put my brand, I wear my brand hat all the time, and I think that's really important.
So what do the brands, and you're in touch with them, what are they looking for, and what's their current attitude? And I know there's been a little bit of concern in the marketplace. What are their expectations from you as a publisher?
Their expectations from us are that we provide them the information and ability to know exactly where their ad's running, that we're doing our best to give them real human attention that can transfer their message. It's interesting because, all of this morning's sessions we're talking about this. Keith Weed's making some pretty interesting statements in the marketplace, and we couldn't be more aligned with what brands are asking for and what they're challenging maybe some of the companies that haven't been as transparent or as what they need to do in the past. They're challenging them to do that. And so I think it's good for everybody. It's good for us, it's good for Fox, it's good for the whole industry.
So you guys, through Truex, have been very much in the forefront of managing ad load, interactivity. Tell us about how that's rolling out across your networks, and also the opportunities for other publishers to embrace this, other programmers.
We believe so much in that model, obviously, with the acquisition of Truex. Last year we made a big, bold announcement that in digital, for all of our FX programming, that we'd actually reduced ad load by 75%. We did that right before the upfront. We kind of shocked the market in the fact that we were doing that. And that is absolutely about taking that model of reduced ad load and high consumer attention that pays off for brands. But what's interesting is we leverage the Truex model in platforms where interactivity is available. But we also took it to video. So an advertiser can own like a full break or a full series with video, kind of taking the same thing to bear, which is interactivity where you can do it, but this idea that a brand doesn't have to share space and the return that they get on that. And we're seeing great success with that. I wouldn't be surprised if you hear more news from us extending that sort of format to other platforms as well outside of digital. So it should be really interesting.
Could you just explain, how a brand finds value out of a shorter ad load and through interactivity, and how you measure that and why that works?
Interactivity, and they spoke about it again this morning. Why would you have a one-way conversation when you can have a two-way conversation? When interacting with someone, you give them the ability to choose the content they want to see. You give them the ability to provide information. Maybe to see something and choose a relevant path for them, depending on what kind of consumer they are or what kind of product they're interested in. So interactivity, Joe Marchese often talks about it as the perfect impression. It's so much more than you could ever do with a message kind of sending out. So absolutely interactivity, we see higher brand recall. The more someone spends time, the more they remember, the more vested they are, and the more relevant it is. So we absolutely leverage that whenever we can for brands, and brands are seeing the direct result of it. I always like to say, once we kind of get a brand into the format, they never leave because they sort of get addicted to what they can accomplish there and the stories that they can tell.
And how has the agencies been reacting in terms of the creative they need to present? And
there's always challenges with a customized solution because there's a little more hand-holding in terms of getting creative. I think the people that dive in and really leverage the most that it has to offer are the ones that do the best. But we also try to look for solutions to make it easier for people. If they don't have the resources or time to do a high-touch, creative, customized solution, we help them do that with our own internal team. Or we look for turnkey solutions that help interactivity, but maybe not as customized. So, you know, I'll admit that that part is hard, but I think the more people are getting used to it, the more they're investing the time and seeing the results that why it makes sense.
Well, and finally, we're almost there to the upfronts and the new fronts and the marketplace. How do you sort of see the marketplace evolving around this interactive demand and consumer driving the ad load?
You know, I see choice is always best, and when you give people a choice, I just saw a study recently on our FX ad load, and when you give people a choice, they choose to interact. And we saw 90% people preferring interactivity. So that tells me that we're onto something, and that we need to absolutely provide choice for people whenever we can. You know, we're not going to win by just jamming more commercials into the system to try to monetize. We are going to get better if we value people's time and we look for the right balance of user experience, of people watching content, and ad experience. So we're always going to push the tension of those two to get to the right place.